your wedding bells don't chime and you can't trap me with necromancy.
Hello, greetings from Mickey and me from Castle Goring. Welcome to those of you who've never come before, and to those of you who are returning. Thank you very much for your support. And today we have a very delicate matter to deal with, because there is a risk that if I do not reveal who the person is that Harry and Meghan were speaking about in their Oprah interview, that it is going to be revealed by one of the anti-monarchist, anti-establishment publications. Because I know who it is. I've known for a little while who it is. A friend of mine, a family friend of mine, who is a journalist on a very, very well-known international publication. This person is from a very aristocratic family, and I have been friends with the family for well over 40 years. And this person also knows about it. And this person is being prevented from writing about it because the publication that this person works with is very pro-Meghan. And they do not want to write anything that would reflect adversely upon Meghan, which I have to say I understand, because I remember in the good old days when the Princess of Wales was flavour of the month and became very controversial as well. Publications would suppress news that related to her if they felt it was going to be injurious to her in the long term, because as Robert Jobson, in those days the royal correspondent for the Express, said to me, he said, well, we don't want to write negative things about Diana because people will start to dislike her, and we do not want to basically kill the goose that laid the golden egg, because, of course, people prefer to read about people they like. Well, I think this is definitely the dynamic that is going on with the American publications. Things like People, CBS, the whole cabal of journalists who are very supportive of Meghan, and anything that would possibly damage the product, because now she's just a product to them, let's face facts, they will suppress. And I've spoken to this family friend, and we have both decided that the most judicious thing is that I reveal who the person is, because if I don't do it, and one of the anti-establishment publications does it, they will put a negative spin upon it. Because the fact of the matter is, the person actually said nothing about Meghan's complexion, nothing about the color of her skin, nothing about her race, nothing about the color of the baby's skin, any future baby, because this was a warning issued by a concerned member of the family before the marriage. Meghan was lying and Harry was speaking the truth when he said that the conversation, heavily spun by Meghan incidentally, and to an extent him, because she's managed to convince him that any criticism of her is based upon race. And he's so dumb that he actually has swallowed that line. And the fact of the matter is that practically every objection to Meghan has not been on her race, which I have emphasized before, as far as the royal family was concerned, and as far as the British people were concerned, was the one plus, unexpurgated plus. Well, when Harry met Meghan and started to trot her out and about, the family at first thought, oh, well, it's just, you know, somebody he's having a fling with. Then they quickly realized it was not just somebody he was having a fling with, that he was completely under her spell, which has been confirmed by Meghan's Minister of Propaganda amid scabies in their joint effort, funding freedom and finding freebies. It was very apparent from very early on that he was completely besotted by her and that she had iron control over him. Meghan is so arrogant that she didn't even bother to conceal the fact that she is dominating, controlling, and doesn't really care about doing anything except making it apparent that she is along for the ride. Oh, she was perfectly charming, and she set out to charm Prince Charles. When she met the Queen, she set out to charm her as well. She succeeded with Prince Charles and the Queen, but she did not succeed with everyone else. She did not succeed with William. She did not succeed with Catherine. She did not succeed with Edward or Sophie, who are good judges of character. She succeeded, funnily enough, to an extent with Andrew and Sarah, and who absolutely saw her coming a mile off was Princess Anne. And the conversation that has been twisted according to 3 separate sources, one of whom is very, very friendly with Princess Anne's children. And I don't know if you recall, but there has been the spin put that Zara and Peter were very fond of Meghan. Well, I'll tell you, Princess Anne absolutely knew what Meghan was from the word go. She watched the developing relationship, evidently, this is what I've been told, and I have every reason to believe that absolutely everything is accurate, with increasing horror, because the more she knew and the more she saw and the more reports she got back about Meghan was that beneath the ruthless charm was a real operator, and she saw her coming a mile off. And she objected strongly as the relationship developed on several grounds, all of which were based upon conduct and character. And this is really important because Harry has perverted and misinterpreted and subverted the genuine concern of his family for his well-being, and he has been so completely seduced by Meghan and her nonsense and her constant playing of the race card, as everybody saw in the Oprah interview, that he actually, if you say to Harry, oh, I don't like Meghan's attitude. Oh, you're a racist. Everything for him is racism, because that is what she has planted in his mind. She is like Iago dripping poison into Othello's ear, and she has been doing it from very early on, because she's not so dumb as to have not picked up the vibes that some people didn't like her. And since she was determined to prevail, and she has been prevailing, the fact of the matter is that she has had one defense for everything that anybody said against her, which was they're racist. Evidently, Princess Anne objected to the fact that Meghan was a flagrant operator. She could see her coming, as I have said before, a mile off. She thought there was something of the souk, the bazaar, and the hustler about Meghan. Some of those are my words, some are not. Some are Princess Anne's words, I gather. Some are mine, and I am conflating the two to protect my sources. She also thought that Meghan was not only a crass and vulgar operator, but that she was so flagrantly attention-seeking that it just absolutely turned Princess Anne off, because she couldn't stand Meghan's constant, me, any subject. She's right in there. And also, Princess Anne, remember, has innate modesty. She is the person who spent years learning about Save the Children before she decided she had sufficient knowledge on the subject of the charity to make initially tentative suggestions as to how they could improve their performance. So you have on the one hand somebody who is modest, who is considered, who waits before plunging in, and you have on the other hand somebody who is egotistical, thinks that she's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and plunges right in. She's an authority on everything, being an expert on nothing. And Princess Anne was evidently absolutely horrified that this creature stood a chance of becoming a member of her family. She saw nothing but trouble down the line, and she made it clear that she thought that it was an appalling idea. She evidently, of the whole of the family, is the one who from the very word go was vociferous about the fact that Meghan's character and Meghan's personality were an absolute misfit, and that Meghan would end up being nothing but trouble, as indeed has turned out to be the case. Now, people who are into astrology will say, well, Princess Anne is a Leo, and so is Meghan, and one Leo can spot another Leo a mile off. Well, let's put that to one side, because I actually think that, yeah, they're both Leos. Well, I'm actually a Leo too, in fact. But I don't think it's got anything to do with astrology. I think it's all to do with discernment. Princess Anne evidently also objected to the fact that Meghan was so superficial and so culturally ignorant and I'm using culture in the broad meaning, you know, British culture versus American culture or continental culture, that Meghan was so culturally ignorant and so determined to not learn anything, because her attitude was she knew better than anybody else, and she was here to save the monarchy. And she was going to be telling everybody what they should be doing. Or as Princess Anne put it on more than one occasion, she thinks she's invented the wheel. Well, yeah, I mean, those of us who've been lectured in their hundreds of millions now by Meghan Markle, you know, 3 bits of world salad, 2 bits of fantasy, a dash of vinaigrette as she casts shade on any competition, we'll know that Princess Anne was absolutely right. She made her feelings very clear, and she said that she did not think that Harry should marry Meghan Markle, and she thought that everybody who was going along with it was making a great mistake, because she was going to turn out to be nothing but trouble. She objected always on the grounds of character, always on the grounds of personality. She did bring in cultural differences and made the point that Meghan was the wrong sort of American. Her allusion was not that all Americans would be unsuitable, but that a certain sort of American, shades, I would imagine, in her thinking of Wallis Simpson, and certainly Meghan Markle, you know, the cool California babe that everything is just, you know, all problems in life can be solved with a trip to the beach and avocado. I mean, the facility of it all, you know, she's so facile, she's so, I mean, she skirts on the surface with a resolution that would make a teaspoon seem deep. And Princess Anne picked that up. And that is the basis upon which Harry has decided that there were concerns about Meghan's colour. There were no concerns about Meghan's colour. Princess Anne was rightly concerned that if the marriage proceeded and there were children, there would be huge problems. Not because of Meghan's colour, but because of Meghan's inability and determination to remain unable to appreciate the cultural differences and to actually have respect for the institution into which she was going to be marrying and the family into which she was marrying. Because Meghan made it apparent to all these people in their 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s that they knew nothing, that she had come to save them. I mean, the arrogance of it all. And as a member of the royal circle said to me, you know, nobody has anything against Americans. I mean, look at Ginny Early. Ginny Early is the Countess of Early. She is one of the Queen's oldest, closest friends. She is Princess Ali John's sister-in-law. Her husband David was for many years the master of the household, or I think actually he was the Lord Chamberlain, but he might have been master of the royal household. I think he was the Lord Chamberlain. In fact, I'm almost sure he was the Lord Chamberlain, but I'm not going to look it up because I can't be bothered to stop to check on such a trivial detail at this point, because I don't want to lose my stride. And Ginny Early, American, another American, the Countess of Carnarvon, the Dowager Countess of Carnarvon, who was, again, one of the Queen's oldest and greatest friends. I'm awfully sorry. Harry decided that on the slimmest of hints about culture, that it referred to colour, and that concerns about the disastrous effect of allowing somebody of that ilk, character-wise, into the family would not only cause trouble for all of them, but for any children born of the union. Those were her concerns. They had absolutely nothing to do with colour. I know I'm repeating myself, but I think there are times in life when repetition is not necessarily a bad thing, and this is one of them. And Meghan and Harry have used that genuine concern of a loving aunt, knowing, because she is down to earth, experienced, modest, intelligent, and sensible, that you cannot make a sow's ear into a silk purse. Harry has decided, Harry ran to Meghan with the objections. Meghan weaponized them on the grounds of colour. And now all of the royal relations, except the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, have been put under the microscope to see who is the guilty party. Well, nobody is the guilty party in terms of racism. But Princess Anne was the champion in terms of don't marry that girl. She is unsuitable. She is wrong for us. She is wrong for the country. She is wrong for the job. Well, it's turned out to be true. And I think it's really important that this be put out there before it is weaponized by some anti-establishment, anti-monarchist organization like the Mirror Group newspaper, who will doubtless spin things destructively to further their agenda. And I think there are times in life when it is important to get in the first blow, and this is one of them. I've met Princess Anne on occasion over the years, and we're not friends. We're never going to be friends. I respect her, but she's definitely not somebody that I would actually find compatible with me on a close personal level, and I'm sure I'm not somebody that she would find compatible with her on a close personal level. I mean, I'm far more into, well, let me put it this way. As Prince Philip said, if it doesn't eat hay and farts, she's not interested in it. I'll take her father's word for the whole thing. But it doesn't alter the fact she's got a sterling character and she is very down to earth, and she saw trouble coming. And I have to tell you, wasn't she right? So, to pick up back our ordinary format, I will read something from Wen Wake. As much as you would like questions about issues other than the Harry and Meghan circus, it seems many of us need the clarity of your updates. I'm certainly one of those people, not understanding royal protocol on such issues as title, inheritance, and such matters. I'm now informed from a trustworthy source. I look forward to every update, yet be reassured that I'm interested in any subject matter that you will add clarity to. I admire your forthright honesty and opinions. Thank you. Especially published on a platform that gives people the chance to spit bile. Touché. I applaud and admire you. You have given me much food for thought many times. I no longer watch the main news channels because they are so PC and biased. The Piers Morgan apology fiasco was the last straw for me with Good Morning Britain. At least here we get the truth, warts and all. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. So I suppose we will today, but sort of continue in the vein. But I have to tell you, I intend in my next video, hopefully, to actually cover something that is only not about Meghan and Harry, but in terms of what is going on and how the Meghan and Harry situation is being cynically used by people who really are threatening our civil liberties. So I suppose the natural thing then is to hear from Miss Lulu. Lady C, I wish you would speak about Prince Albert of Monaco's statement on the BBC regarding how he thought it was distasteful for Harry and Meghan to air their laundry on world TV. Albert has had black girlfriends before, and one of his black girlfriends gave birth to their son, so he is not a racist. Also take into account that his mother, American Princess Grace, died in a tragic, horrific car accident, and Princess Stephanie, by the grace of God, was spared. They have never pulled the poor me, pity me, my mother died in a car accident when I was young act. I will address it. I'll actually read out what Prince Albert said, and then I'll just make my comment. He said, I think that this type of public display of dissatisfaction, to say the least, these types of conversations should be held within the intimate quarters of the family, and it doesn't really have to be laid out in the public sphere like that. So it did bother me. Well, he was absolutely right that it bothered him. It should have bothered him. And Prince Albert is a friend of the royal family. Aside from being a sovereign in his own right, he's a head of state. He is a ruling prince. He and before him his parents, and before that his grandparents, were invited to various things here, because it may not be well known by everybody, but Prince Albert is actually part British. In fact, he is a distant cousin of my ex-husband, because one of his ancestresses was a daughter of the Duke of Hamilton, and there was a double duchess called Elizabeth Gunning, who was first of all the Duchess of Hamilton, then the Duchess of Argyll, and so the Argylls and the Hamiltons are related. Already, not only has the general public closed ranks in support of the Queen and the royal family. But so have the establishment and so have the other royals. I'm not sure that American PR people and the cognoscenti, to put it in a polite way, the Oprahs, the Gayle Kings of this world, I'm not sure that they understand how things work at the upper reaches of society, because they are purveyors of the news and they have a level of sophistication which is very unsophisticated. I mean, for instance, if you cast your mind back a few years ago to when Gayle King announced that Oprah would not be returning to France because the French had not treated Oprah well, because when she asked to have a store open for her late so that she could shop alone, like she was royalty, and not only regular royalty either, a reigning monarch like the Queen, that she was informed, no, in France we don't do that. And so she thought that was, I suppose, the Californian version of lèse majesté. I mean, you have to laugh, it's so ridiculous. But anybody with a real level of sophistication would not have expected a French store to remain open so that she, the great Oprah, could shop in it. I mean, and then decide that the French are racist. I'm sure they're gonna be racist, because I think she actually accused somebody in, I think it was Sweden anyway, somewhere, of racism, because the woman simply made the point, a saleswoman, that the bag was very expensive. And Oprah decided that that was racist because she was trying to imply that she, Oprah, being a woman of color, couldn't afford an expensive bag, when in fact it was most likely just sales banter. But so we're dealing, again, we come back to the business of cultural differences. We are dealing with people who are very eager to spot a slight where doubtless none existed. I would be very surprised if any royal ever gives an interview to Oprah ever again. Well, any reputable royal, let's put it that way. I think Oprah has blotted her copy. She is a latter-day Martin Bashir, who, when the name is mentioned, everybody takes out the camphor and the handkerchief and puts it to their nostrils to repulse the malodorousness of the event. And I know as a fact that the establishment has firmly closed ranks already, and that Prince Albert's foray is a much thought of, and from his point of view, much thought about intervention to show solidarity, because nobody can accuse Prince Albert of being racist. One of his children is half black, African black. I mean, properly, the mother is properly black. You know, she's not Meghan, or a lighter shade of pale, or, you know, coffee with too much milk in it sort of thing. It's passing itself off as black. And I write about his relationship with the mother of the child and the child in my book, People of Colour and the Royals. So I know a little bit more about this than maybe the average person. And Prince Albert has been one of the ideal people to actually make a positive intervention. I would think that the corner has been turned where rational people are concerned, but the royal family is still going to be on guard to make sure that the naive, the gullible, the innocent, whose heads have been turned by the lies of Meghan and Harry, will also have their positions considered, because the royal family is not only about its supporters, it's also about representing even those who do not support it. And that's a very important point. And I think that that will be enough for today, because I don't want to dilute the importance of what I have said by bringing in extraneous subjects. But there are other very important subjects which need to be covered, and I will be covering them very shortly. Before closing, may I address the issue of how questions can be asked? They can be asked very simply in the comments section. Okay, that's the perfect place to ask them. And Mickey, and Mickey and I are going to invite you to like, subscribe, share, and press the notification bell. Aren't we clever, Mickey? We actually remembered what to say. Yes, we are. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you next time. God bless.